Now it's time to actually render out templates. And templates, what templates allow us to do is to make our HTML smarter. And it does it in a way that is just really, really straightforward and simple. So our post model list view, or pretty much any view for that matter, we can update and change to render out a template. That's what we're going to be doing here. We're not really going to be changing a whole lot because we just want to talk about rendering templates here. So instead of this HTTP response, I'm going to change it to being return render, which by default is being imported, but it's in Django.shortcuts render. And this takes in a few arguments, one being the request, another one being the path as to where the template exists, and the last one being a context dictionary. So I'm going to write those out as variables themselves. So template path equals to some string here, and then context dictionary equals to an empty dictionary. Of course, you don't have to write out context dictionary, but I just want to illustrate some concepts here for you first. So what is this template path and what is that related to? Well, if we go into our app and we make a new folder and we call it templates, we now have a place to store our templates. These templates are HTML files that will be rendered for us later. But for now, I'm just going to say list-view.html and press enter. And I'll just say hello world in H1. Okay, so we save that, go back into our view. Our template path now is just list-view.html. So we save that, and I go to my post list. Notice where I am as far as the URLs. I make sure the server is running. Python manage.py, run server, and we refresh, and it says hello world. So that's the absolute basics of rendering a template. Really cool, very easy, and it uses this right here. Now, it has to have the request, otherwise errors will happen. It has to have a template path, otherwise errors will happen. And it has to have an actual dictionary, a Python dictionary, otherwise, of course, errors will happen. Now, what is this template path and how does that work specifically? Because all I did was make a folder called templates and put a file in it, and for some reason, this found that file. Well, let's change it to being something that is not in existence, which is list-view2, meaning I don't have anything inside of my templates folder in the blog app called list-view2. So if I refresh, it now says template does not exist. This means that we did not create the template, and it does not exist in a place where Django knows to look. So where does Django look exactly? It looks within our apps. So first of all, it looks within our apps by going, look at, we see Django template loaders, app directories.loader, and it looks in the admin app because that's an app. It looks in the auth app, which is also an app, and then it finally looks in our blog app inside of the folder called templates. So that is the standard default method of how it's going to look for these paths. So the paths could be a little bit more dynamic than this, like as if I could make a new folder in here. Inside of templates, I call it blog. And then inside of blog, I call it list-view.html. So that is actually a better place on where I should put my list view, not just in the root of that template folder. So instead of having it in that root, I'm going to go ahead and delete it and then paste in the content to this new list view. I refresh in here, it's still not working. So coming back into my template path, since inside of templates, that's the root, then I have this other folder called blog or directory called blog, and then finally list view. I can do something like this, blog/list view. And now I can refresh and it comes back up and it actually shows me where that is. Definitely try this out because it's something that you'll have to get right and try out a few different times. Okay, so I called the template list view related to the function view that's actually going on. So in this case, it is going to be my list view. Later, I'll have templates specifically for create, retrieve, update, delete as well. But right now, I just have that list view one. Now, this is not the only way to write templates. Another way is to go in our settings and to change the actual configuration to where it can look. This is not something I'm going to cover in this view section. Instead, that's going to be in Django templates itself. We also definitely talk about this in projects. So anyways, it's going back into our views. We now have our template path set up, and we can actually just change this from template path to simply being template, and the context dictionary to being simply context. That is what we want to do to set up this actual view. Okay, so now that we've got that, we do want to actually talk a little bit about how templates work so you can actually build a more robust view system inside of templates, but we want to do it in the sense of how context works. So if you have any questions on what we did here, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.